The nation's largest ever college bribery scheme is still unfolding, with recent charges and plea deals. Now another admissions scandal looms over one of the most prestigious schools in the world. The Boston Globe reports there was a different kind of college recruitment scam at Harvard University. It allegedly involves a series of donations, a land deal, and a real estate purchase from a Chinese millionaire who wanted his two sons admitted to the school. Evan Allen wrote this story for the Boston Globe and joins me now. Thank you so much for being with us. The Globe began reporting on this last spring. Tell us about this. How did this work?
So the Globe was tipped off initially because of this very strange home purchase in which a Maryland businessman bought the home of the Harvard fencing coach. And a couple prospective home buyers actually found this transaction and realized that the businessman's sons then got into Harvard. So that's how we got onto this topic. And as we began investigating the people involved, we started to see more and more strange financial transactions. So this businessman, this millionaire businessman, had not only purchased the home of the Harvard fencing coach, but he purchased the entire property where his sons had fenced in Virginia. And he had donated $1 million to his son's Virginia fencing coach, who then donated $100,000 to Harvard's fencing coach.
Huh, interesting. Well, as you reported, the players did not go to great lengths to cover up this scheme. How did it go unnoticed for so long?
You know, it's true. They did not go to really any lengths at all to cover it up. They made real estate purchases with their names on the documents. They listed the charity donations on their tax forms. And in fact, the Virginia fencing coach was allegedly bragging about this deal. He said he had been made by this millionaire businessman. He said that he'd been promised $1 million to get this man's son into college, into Harvard. I can't explain to you why they didn't take any steps to conceal it, but my sense is that no one was really looking. And it is not unusual in the world of elite fencing for parents to be very wealthy and be very generous.
Well, what happened to all of the people allegedly involved?
Well, the Harvard fencing coach has been fired. And after our stories began to run, the federal government opened an investigation into this whole situation. So there is an investigation, but the Virginia fencing coach is still running his fencing academy, and the businessman whose sons got into Harvard is still the CEO of his company.
So is Harvard facing any other investigations into its admissions process?
So Harvard was not implicated in the sort of wide-ranging Operation Varsity Blues scandal that we're seeing sweep across the country with all these indictments. So this is the first sort of admission scandal that we're seeing connected to Harvard. It has not had these issues. It has recently been involved in not an admissions scandal, but a federal court case over its admissions policies, which again wasn't a scandal, but it did sort of bring out into the open some of the ways in which Harvard considers things like donation money and athletics and legacy status in doing its own admissions, which, you know, that wasn't a scandal, but it's an interesting view into the way that money and power do influence the ability to get into an Ivy League school.
Right, so this story and that larger college admissions scandal paint a picture of a two-tiered system, one for the rich and the other for everyone else. Is that a fair way to look at elite colleges and universities?
I think that is a fair assessment. I mean, we like to think that Harvard or any Ivy League top college admissions are sort of American meritocracy. But I think that we see that that's not always true. People who give a lot of money, their kids get preference. People who went to these institutions in the past, their children get legacy preference. And when you go back in time and you look at, you know, that tends to favor richer and whiter students today. You know, during the federal court case over Harvard's admissions, there was talk of this sort of called the Z list, which was a small group of students every year who they get admitted to Harvard, but they're not as good as the other applicants, and so they wind up taking a year off in between. And it's a small group, but they skew very wealthy, very white, very well connected. So I think, you know, and even if you look at the ways in which different types of athletics are considered, you know, I think it takes money to be a fencer. It takes money to play water polo. And those things are legitimate talents, but to them, you need to have privilege.
Right, a number of questions are being raised, I imagine, at Harvard and elsewhere, too, as word of your story spreads. Evan Allen for us. Evan, thank you very much.
Thank you.